come to you on the air a little bit quarter before 9 o'clock here on Couch Coach Live with some breaking news. Tuesday night under the lights here on Couch Coach Live. The breaking news story, which just came out about like an hour ago, kind of bring up to speed if you were under a rock the last week. So on Friday, there was a reported deal of Maxx Crosby being traded to the Baltimore Ravens for their 2026 and their 2027 draft pick. Now, as we go on air here now, that deal has been rescinded. The Las Vegas Raiders posted a statement that the Baltimore Ravens have backed out the deal for Maxx Crosby, and it is due to medical reasons, a failed physical. We all know that Maxx Crosby did have a meniscus injury, so you put two and two together, it looks like the results from that physical and the recovery from that injury isn't 100% and to a point where the Ravens didn't feel comfortable enough to go through with this trade. Man, what's going on, man? We knew the day was going to be a little crazy, but it got a little more crazier as the night progressed.
Yeah, like you said, breaking news, was not expecting that. It kind of sets Baltimore back because they lost a few pieces from their roster during free agency, and I think Maxx Crosby was the biggest pickup that they had made this offseason. It pretty much was a game changer for them, especially on the side of the football that they needed the most help on. They needed help generating pressure on the quarterback. Now you lose that player, and your back end hasn't improved. Your linebackers need improvement. So Baltimore went from a Super Bowl favorite, or at least making it to the Super Bowl, to now back to the middle of the pack in the AFC. Within within a 24-hour.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
the hour ago, right.
Yeah, so I mean, but failed physical. I mean, but can they come back to the table and like renegotiate, or is that?
The thing is, I mean, they probably can, but it's gonna be kind of one of the things where it's gonna get a little bit murkier because if I'm the Raiders, like, why would I do a deal? Maybe this is something that opens the door for other possibilities. Like maybe a Dallas can come. You know, I think this whole situation between Baltimore and the Ravens. I mean, not Baltimore and the Ravens, Baltimore and the Raiders, isn't going to happen because at this point, if the Ravens don't feel comfortable enough off that meniscus injury, they did this for a reason. Now, this might open the door for. I know a lot of people was like, you know, maybe Dallas or other teams that might could come up and say, hey, I give you the same compensation with that. So it's almost kind of one of the things where the Raiders are kind of in a good position because now it could be a situation where if another team is still, it's kind of a red flag in a sense too. But the type of productivity that Maxx Crosby possessed, somebody may say, hey, well, it may not look good. You know, he might feel a physical that, you know, we'll still kind of not overlook it, but it's kind of one of the things where we can go back to the drawing table if I'm a team that did that kind of, how can I say it? A team that missed out on the sweepstakes of Maxx Crosby could potentially swoop in and get and produce a deal. But that failed physical is a real huge obstacle for that. So that's a good question, but I have no idea.
All right, so let me ask you.
Look on both ends.
All right, let me ask you this: do you think the Raiders can still get the draft capital from a different team? Because then what they had like, okay, all right,
two first, you get 2026 and 2027. No, because at this point, no, because
what you think he'll go for now? Maybe a 1 and a 3, or
he can go for a 1 this year, but I don't think you're gonna have. You can have maybe multiple picks, maybe like you said, first and a third or a fourth, but nobody's. I don't think is going to be willing to give you two, like a first this year and a first next year, for sure. Like he might you might get some draft assets for this April's draft, but not April 2027. Not at this point, because not necessarily saying he's damaged goods, but it's one of the things where he's not even going to be able to pass a physical for a good little minute. So so it's going to be really interesting how that plays out. And like you said, this whole Ravens situation is demoralizing because this is where we looked at was almost like not necessarily their final piece, but it was going to be a piece similar to kind of what they've done in the past. Like, as far as when that to kind of go back in time. But like when they got our guy from the Raiders, what's his name? Woodson. When they got Woodson back in the day, or when they got Shannon Sharp back in the day, those type of Ravens are known to get that one piece that they need. And Maxx Crosby can almost fit in that same type of realm where, if there was a player away from them competing, and getting back to the playoffs, it would have been like a Maxx Crosby, especially considering like you talked about it, as far as what you lost from the linebackers position and what have you, and him getting that ability to, you can have someone that can produce double-digit sacks on your defense, and to lose that is really key. And now, obviously, people said, like you said in the beginning, they went from being a team that was a Super Bowl contending team to now, like you said, middle of the pack in the AFC. Which AFC is a great conference, but it's it's a different ball game now without having Maxx Crosby in the fold, because now unless you do something well in this draft coming up, but I think they were like 14th or something like that, still not going to have that productivity like Maxx Crosby would have.
So, all right. So, do they still look for an edge with their first round pick, or do you think they need to address their offensive line needs?
I think you just go with best available. They're in a position where they can do best available. Like, I don't necessarily think that at where they're at, they're gonna get like a Bain or a Bailey. I don't think they're gonna get that far to them. If they fall into their lap, yeah, you do that. But I think they'll be well gone before you get there. So I think where they pick at, you just go with the best available, and then you kind of just fill the spots from it, because you don't want to reach like if it's an offensive lineman there, but if you look at him as somebody that late first round, then maybe you trade out of that pick, move back. But Baltimore, the beauty thing with Baltimore, they'll never really reach from what I remember from a draft perspective. They just get what's the best available, and they drive very well. So that's where I think you just get the best available.
Now, as far as Vegas goes, does this change their draft board? We pretty much can say that Mendoza's gonna be their first pick.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be number one, but like you said, now that Ravens pick that you would have got, I think, because I forgot what a Ravens pick. I think they picked like 14th or something like that. I think they're in that like kind of mid-single digits. They didn't make the playoffs, so I think they're like 14th. But that's another one where you could have added to, you could have got a wide receiver with that pick. You could get other help in that need, and which it's huge for them, because it's a simple fact of they need so much, and for you to essentially lose out on an opportunity, and then also having some draft capital for next year too. So that's kind of one of the things where you almost got that 2-for-1. Where even though we look at Baltimore as probably like a higher team, but hey, I would have came in next year with our with the Raiders first round pick and a couple with the Ravens pick, which that could have been a situation where they could have moved those pieces around to get somebody. Like I said, if there's a stud wide receiver next year or a stud running back, they could have put those two picks together to move up to get that spot. So yeah, it's huge for the Raiders as well, because like you said, and like we talked about it earlier, you're not going to be able to get that same type of compensation. That's the huge thing about it, where yes, you'll find a trading partner for Maxx Crosby, but you're not going to get as much, which that's going to be something that's going to kind of be somewhat disheartening. And then now, depending on as far as the physical, whatever, will he be able to pass a physical and get traded to a point where by draft, where, could just give you an example, would he be, of that injury, will he be able to pass a physical in about 6 weeks when it's time for the NFL draft? And that's going to be the biggest issue, because now if you don't do that, then he's going to be on that roster, but you're not going to get any draft capital to 2027, which is huge for the Raiders, because like we talked about it, I wouldn't necessarily say we've already kind of hand selected who they were going to get with the Ravens pick, but the fact that they're looking like they probably have been looking the last what's day Tuesday, the last 4 days of what they're going to get with that pick.
All right, so let's just say Crosby doesn't get traded by the draft or anything like that. He goes into the season still on the Raiders roster. Is it something where we see him get traded at the deadline, or do you think he'll just play a whole complete season in the Raiders uniform?
I think they're gonna have to trade him. They'll trade him at some point, because I don't think this kind of one of the things. I don't think he can come back. This isn't like I think somebody made a mention, almost like the Mark Williams and the Dogs Connect type of trade. This is a whole different ball game, especially from a football perspective. It's done, and that's going to be the issue. And then, because if it gets to that point, and that's going to be the crazy thing about it, if he lasts the trading deadline, they're gonna get next to nothing, because it's almost to a point where you'll get desperate at that point, because we already know you want to keep him off. And It's kind of one of those things where it's gonna be interesting how the conversation will be now, because now this is kind of, I don't know if Dallas is gonna be in the sweepstakes now, also getting like Rashawn Gray and all them, and kind of do that. Just giving you an example, but I'm really curious how other offers will come about for Maxx Crosby. I think that's what's going to be really the most intriguing thing, because I think he's done. It's a point where you can't take the toothpaste out of the toothpaste out of the tube. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube at this point.
But I feel like we both in agreement with that he can command a first and a third, or fourth. Okay, so
yeah. But not 2 firsts at this point, because
especially
now with especially with the injury history, and then the whole him failing the physical, that's huge. That was and that's concerning, because a lot of people, especially considering the fact with the Ravens and how they run their organization, that's a really, really like telling flag, like as far as the long-term health of Maxx Crosby. So that's kind of, when especially like an organization like the Ravens that does things like they're a first-class organization in the NFL, and for them to kind of resetting this deal is telling. It's very, very telling. And I know some of these not so well-to-do franchises will just jump the bait and get them, but it's kind of one of those where, like with the Ravens doing this, you pay attention and you read, not read them, but you observe the red flag of the situation.
Yeah.
But man, this is crazy. I remember Friday, like, man, this is the biggest deal. This is the biggest deal in NFL free agency. This would be one, but now this is the bigger story that is being rescinded.
Yeah, because it's really for both teams, because, like I said, the trade put Baltimore, like I said, as a Super Bowl contending team, but it also, if you look at it, Vegas started to see their roster take some type of shape with the pieces and players that they picked up in free agency, and you thought, okay, come end of April for the draft, Mendoza's going to be there, pick at QB, but then they also had the Ravens first round pick where they was going to address another need that they had to fulfill.
Yeah.
So
Man,
Yeah.
tell you, man, it's March Madness in the NFL. Like we just crazy. Yeah, yeah. So we got a great show lined up for you tonight. So we'll talk about some more free agency. We'll go into the quarterbacks. We'll talk about Malik Willis shortly. Tua Tagovailoa, our free agent acquisitions that we're filling, and of course the other elephant in the room that Magic City Mondays. This upcoming Magic City Monday promotion with the Atlanta Hawks have been canceled. So we'll dive into that as well on today's show. So first, let's talk about Malik Willis. He was obviously the most sought after free agents, and kind of figured he was going to be with Hepley in Miami. So, your thoughts of Malik Willis going to the Miami Dolphins?
Um, it was a great pickup. He proved to people and the doubters that he belongs in the NFL. He had a stretch where he played tremendous football. When Jordan Love went out, he kept pretty much kept Green Bay afloat during that time where Jordan Love was out, when they could have easily packed it in and folded and lost. Well, how many games? It was what, 3-4 games where he stepped in for Jordan Love?
3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they could have, like I said, they could have easily lost those games, but Malik Willis stepped in, proved that he's a comparable quarterback, that he can get the job done, and that he deserves another shot at being a starting quarterback. I feel like when he got drafted by Tennessee, it wasn't the right fit. Well, I'm not gonna say it wasn't the right fit. I think they didn't give him time to prove himself, because I think the following year they drafted Will Levis, and then we saw how Mr. Mayonnaise and his coffee worked out. Is he even in the league anymore? Okay.
I think he's still there. I think he's still in Tennessee. I think because you remember he got hurt in the preseason.
Okay. But, yeah, like I said, no one talks about him, so that's how irrelevant he is or has become. But like I said, I like this pickup for Miami, especially after releasing Tua. And then if you think about it, Miami's offense is built around speed and creativity. Malik Willis fits that mold because he brings mobility and somewhat of a big arm. I'm not gonna say it's a downside, but he's still considered like a raw passer. So he has tendencies to make mistakes, but in the right system, he can become a dangerous playmaker, especially for the Dolphins. They still have A-Chain, right?
Yeah, and Waddle.
Yeah, so yeah, they on the offensive side, they have weapons. They still have they have a lot of speed at the skill position. So I like this pickup, and I think we'll see a breakout year from Waddle, and I think A-Chain might be a top 5, not running back, but top 5 in rush yards, with having Malik Willis in the backfield with him, because Malik Willis is also a threat to tuck the ball and run himself. He's not the fastest, but he's capable of tucking the ball and running.
Yeah.
And then I don't. And I was gonna say I'm not too sure that Malik Willis has like an injury history or anything, which is a good thing, especially after what Miami's been dealing with Tua's injury history. So to have him in there, hopefully all 17 games. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win the AFC East, but I can see them not finishing last in the division. Maybe give New England a run for the money for the because in my opinion, I feel like Buffalo's gonna win the division. and I feel like they can give New England a run for their money at second place in the division.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I like the move, and it's kind of one of the things I knew once Jeff Hafley got the job in Miami, that's pretty much would be his best place to go, because obviously Jeff Hafley was their defensive coordinator in Green Bay, so has that familiarity with him. I think he will fit that mold for that team, like you said. As far as just his ability, this definitely give him an opportunity. Now he is QB1 for the foreseeable future for this team, and hopefully coupled with Jeff Hadley, his obviously he's the defensive guy, so hopefully he'll bring in that kind of philosophy and almost I wouldn't say right there wrong with the whole situation. Like I know we talked about it when Jeff Hadley got hired. It was almost like kind of right or wrong from for Brian Flores getting rid of him in a sense. Kind of having that defensive guru type in as their head coach. Um, yeah, like you said, and they also got playmakers too. So I'd like you look at that, and then seeing how kind of Malik Willis kind of had a situation in Tennessee where they really didn't have faith in him, and then now you're seeing like even in 2 years as he was a backup in Green Bay, like kind of what he did, in spot duty when Jordan Love was out. So now he gets that opportunity, get that starting opportunity. I do like him. He does have weapons. The cupboard isn't bare there. Where like you said, A-Chain, also Waddle, fairly decent wide receiver core, and I always looked at Miami Dolphins roster as pretty. It's still a good roster. So I definitely think bringing in a guy like a Malik Willis who, you know, can manage the game effectively. And like you said, I don't necessarily think they can compete for it, but they'll be a lot better than what they were last year. They won't be like a 5-12 team. They'll be a team that, like you said, could potentially compete. They can play meaningful football. At the end of November and December and potentially January. So, so it's going to be interesting. And this Miami team isn't too far from being in the playoffs like they were a few years ago. Just a few little things that happened, and now I think this whole situation with not having, the Tyreek situation is not is non-existent at this point. So I think they're going to move on from that and move on from that drama between him and like Tua. So both parties involved are gone. So it's definitely going to be a change of pace for this Miami Dolphins team, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So we talked about the current Miami Dolphins quarterback. We got to talk about the previous QB1 for the Miami Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa. He signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. What's your thoughts on Falcons? Tua now with Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I like Stefanski, especially as an OC. But I just don't trust Tua him staying healthy, man. You already have a quarterback that's injury prone. Well, that has an injury history, and Michael Penix Jr. Now you bring in another quarterback with an injury history in Tua. To me, and on top of that, they're both left-handed quarterbacks. So to me, honestly, it makes no sense. But I understand that Tua needed a change of scenery. He wore out his welcome in Miami. But I just don't understand what the Falcons are doing. When I first saw the alert about Tua signing with the Falcons, the first thing I said, like, why?
Right.
But if Tua can stay healthy and everything works out in their favor, then this signing may be like a godsend. So, because if you think about it, Tua kind of thrives in like a rhythm offense that's built on timing, quick reads, and what he has in Atlanta is plenty of playmakers with Bijan, London, Pitts. So he has the weapons on the offensive side of the ball. So I look at this as Atlanta like trying to build a structured offense that relies on efficiency rather than hero ball being played by the quarterback. Um, I'm Tua is I, Tua's pretty accurate, but he's very good at making um like being anticipating the throw. He's very good at
Yeah.
that. So, like I said, you have a big target in Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Then if you do run into any trouble, you can just hand it off to Bijan or throw it to Bijan out the backfield. So if I think this only really works if Tua stays healthy for the whole season. Then if that does happen and Tua has, let's say he has a career year with the Falcons, now you come to the issue of what are we doing with Michael Penix Jr.? Are we gonna sign Tua to an extension and just cut our ties with Michael Penix Jr. or what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So I would hate to be in the um in the front office for the Falcons, especially the guy in charge that has to make these type of decisions because this is the type of decision that you can lose your job over, especially if you make the wrong decision. Because we both know they're not drafting another quarterback probably for the next 2 seasons. So you got to make it happen. You got to make it work. You got to make it work with either Tua or you got to make it work with Michael Penix. So
Yeah. Um, it is interesting because, like you said, Tua with this injury history. To me, this is more just merely like a pit stop for him. I definitely like that 1 year deal is just kind of one of the things like to just prove it. He'll essentially he'll be obviously the week 1 starter because obviously with Michael Penix getting injured getting injured late in the year. So I definitely think he'll be someone that like he'll be QB1 week 1, and like you said, the availability. If he's able to kind of have spurts where he doesn't have he doesn't is injured or whatever, and he's able to play. Could be a situation where next year he probably could potentially be the number 1 quarterback free agent wise coming out of the free agency market next year. So this is an opportunity for him to kind of prove it, prove himself and kind of get away from that situation in Miami. Like you said, I mean, it's almost similar to kind of what he had in Miami, like as far as the weapons, just as good, just as effective. Like talking about like a Drake London, he's good. Cal Pitts, like you talk about Bijan Robinson. The cupboard isn't bare in Atlanta, so this is another team where could Tua lead this team to an NFC South championship? Because now you're looking at it's not as we looked at this kind of a division that can be easily be won, but not necessarily. You're looking like what's going on in Carolina. They beefed up their defense this week.
yeah, yeah,
Tampa Bay still there, even with the loss of a Mike Evans, but they're still around. Obviously, you still got a guy like a Baker Mayfield in the fold in Tampa Bay. So, they got to compete for an NFC South championship, and that's one thing too. When you got to bring in a guy like a Tua, he's like, and it's crazy thing like we talked about. It's almost like he's an insurance policy, but it's almost like he needs an insurance policy if he goes down. So it's almost
hmm
like okay, who is y'all like? Because now I'm really questioning who is QB3. Like, do you draft a QB3? Like, I mean, because at this point, you know, because if you're relying on them, because what if Tua gets hurt, early on in the season and Michael Penix is available, then you're like you said, you're screwed. And that's when maybe Terry Fortnite and all those guys. Well, I don't know, he's not there no more. I think whoever's there, yeah, he's there. That's right. Because they got rid of the coach, they get rid of the GM.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the GM, this when it's like, okay, this could be a situation like if both go down, then jobs could get lost because we went from taking a guy that essentially who we looked at as somebody as he's the, which is weird to say, he's the insurance policy for Michael Penix as far as if for him, but then that's why it's so weird that probably the two, and it's crazy because both of them have injury history in the same regard, like Tua with a concussion, Michael
Mm-hmm.
Penix ACL leg injury. So it's kind of weird how both of them have what I call continuous injuries in the same area, which is fairly bizarre. That's a really interesting odd couple to kind of have on that team, that quarterback room, where you have those type of injuries and that type of significance of them. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to say the
It's it,
least.
it's a lot of questions that need to be asked about the Atlanta Falcons as to like their
Yeah,
thought process on drafts and free agency. Like, what do you guys
yeah.
like? Like, I just want to know like what is on your free agency boards and on your draft boards to make you make these type of decisions.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Yep. All right, so gotta get to free agency. We'll keep it like the three if you got some honorable mentions or what have you. Your top three say financial. Your top three free agency position. What you got?
um number one is Kenneth Walker going to Kansas City. Um you Kansas City brings in the reigning Super Bowl MVP. They needed a running back like Kenneth Walker in their backfield. So I think he's going to bolster the offense a lot, especially when Pat Mahomes gets back. So I think he can elevate Kansas City back into the fold. I mean, they in my opinion they're always going to be in the fold because Patrick Mahomes is just that good. As long as he's
Yeah.
upright, healthy, and can be protected, they're always going to be in the fold. But I feel like adding Kenneth Walker just puts them pretty much
Mm-hmm.
back in the Super Bowl contention. And that's like I said, that's only dependent on the health of Patrick Mahomes, how fast he can get back. Um, Number two, I'm gonna go with I'm when I made this decision is not a biased pick, but I like it because we replaced Montgomery and that was picking up
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
So we brought in another pretty much violent runner that goes to contact, and he doesn't go down normally after the first hit. It's always the third or fourth hit he'll go down. Um, he's a two-time Super Bowl champion. Um, he's proven in this league as a back. To me, he doesn't need 20, 25 touches a game. He can be effective off 10 to 15. Um, he's a he's Knuckles 2.0 to Gibbs' Sonic. So I like that pickup. And then my last one will be Jalen Phillips to Carolina. I feel like Carolina made leaps and bounds this year, but I feel like this season coming up, they're gonna take that next step. I'm not gonna say they're gonna make it to the NFC Championship game, but I'm saying get to the playoffs and possibly win a playoff game.
Mhm.
because I don't see a significant drop off happening for them. Their offense is good. Um, they may need to address the running back position again. 'Cause I know they lost Rico. Um, but bringing in Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher that can terrorize the quarterback, you can never go wrong with having bringing in a player like that. So those are my three picks for top free agency acquisitions.
Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna do that, I said, but check out. Well, I just gonna take him out because I knew that was a steal for y'all. So I was like, I knew actually was gonna definitely touch on that. But like, yeah, I think the Kenneth Walker definitely going to Kansas City. It's like what they needed. They finally got that running back that they need. Like they need that dynamic running back, that home run him running back that Kenneth Walker is. And could you imagine like that now being in Kansas City on top of having Patrick Mahomes, now the development of Rasheed Rice and also Xavier Worthy. So now you're looking at like that's going to be like a standout. And like you said, um, getting the Isaiah Pacheco, which I think is definitely an upgrade in the sense because he's that because what like we've seen in Kansas City, he can't necessarily carry the load, but he did give them some huge runs. This is match him now being in that same position where he doesn't have to carry the load as being like run, as that because obviously they had to bring in guys often to complement him as well too. So now you got him on top of Jameer Gibbs. So now he kind of like he's like the ultimate from a baseball analogy, like a pinch hitter. He's a great pinch hitter. So he's someone I definitely think, even though you got a guy, Jameer Gibbs, who was a what we used to call a bell cow running back, where they can just from first, second, third, fourth down, you can have him, but then you bring in a guy like a Isaiah Pacheco to kind of pinch hit at times, and like you say,
Hmm.
and run violently, and he can move the chains, and he's definitely a Dan Campbell type of bite your kneecap type of guy. So I
Oh
definitely
yeah,
think he fits that mold. So I definitely think he fits that Dan Campbell mold. So that's a great fit for him. Um, I did like the Isaiah likely move to the Raven. I'm not Lord, that's the Ravens to the Giants because obviously with Harbaugh now being in the
yeah.
fold with the Giants,
Hmm.
that's a huge target for like So you look at like kind of what the Giants are doing. They're another team that I think especially being here in the NFC East, it's going to be a really interesting team. Obviously, you got Jackson Dart there. He'll have the weaponry. Obviously, you'll have a healthy Malik Neighbors, and now you bring in like Isaiah Likely, who was it was a great target. And I definitely think he's gonna be someone that definitely like that. But then I know you're talking about. I don't really want to talk about the Carolina Panthers. I know you were talking about Jalen Phillips, but I definitely like this Devin Lloyd deal as well too. So like we just
Yeah.
talked about with the Falcons, how Carolina kind of beefed up their defense, and they're another one where they're not just resting on that heartbreaking loss against the Rams. They're they're going for it. And then
Yeah.
also with the Rams doing with getting Trent McDuffie, which I think that's definitely a good deal to kind of with that secondary. Obviously Cam Curl there, and also Emmanuel Forbes. That's gonna be a very lethal,
But
secondary coming up. So.
no, I was gonna say, and then they bring in the other Kansas City DB. I can't
Yeah. I know
I
you're
can't
talking
think of his name, but yeah, they brought him in.
let me look that up real quick. Ash. Um. Let's see who they. Let's see. Who else? Who? Um. Oh, they ended up getting Tyler Beyond. I didn't even know that. That's crazy. Um.
The rich get richer.
They just got Trent McDuffie.
I thought I saw that they got the other
Oh no, they didn't
the
get Jalen Watson.
I thought I thought I saw that they got the other DB from Kansas
But
City too.
yeah, so but that's another team, from there. So I definitely like, huh?
Oh no, I was saying I thought the Rams had got another DB
But
from Kansas City too.
yeah, and like you said, I don't think so. I thought they did, but from according to this, oh yeah, they got that's right, Jalen Watson. Jalen Watson, they got him too, Jalen
Okay.
Watson. So yeah, that McDuffie, then also coupled with, I know Cam Curl the safety, and then also Emmanuel Forbes. So they got a formidable secondary for the Rams. But yeah, that's another one too where they showed up their secondary as well,
Yeah.
um, getting that as well yeah, he was a playmaker too. Jalen Watson was a playmaker as well. So they got some guys who make some plays for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, yep. So not staying, but we're gonna talk a little basketball, which is very weird. I don't know if we talked about it last week or we talked about it the previous week. But anyway, we had talked about a promotion that the Atlanta Hawks and the Mag City, as we all know, it's a gentleman's club, but more so not just a gentleman's club. It's a place where it's a restaurant that serves great food, also coupled with the Gentlemen's Club experience. We just keep it at that. So we talked about that they were going to have a collaboration. It was going to be called Magic City Mondays because that's a phrase that is coined, at Magic City, where obviously so they were going to have like a Magic City theme where they were going to have a live podcast with the owner of Magic City. They were doing pre-order hoodies and gear centered with Magic City and the Atlanta Hawks together. We all kind of thought it was a good idea, obviously, with that. But then there was a backlash, notably Luke Cornett from the San Antonio Spurs. Then there was other people that also chimed, just like everything. I think once that kind of happened, and everybody kind of chimed in. So yesterday, the NBA responded and gave out this statement regarding the Magic City Monday event on Monday, March 16th, which is going to be this upcoming Monday. So, NBA cancels Atlanta Hawks March 16th in arena promotion. The NBA today announced it has canceled the Atlanta Hawks planned in arena promotion for their game on March 16th. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver issued the following statement. When we became aware of the Atlanta Hawks schedule promotion, we reached out to the Hawks leadership for to better understand their plans and rationale. While we appreciate the team's perspective and their desire to move forward, we have heard significant concerns from a broad array of league stakeholders, including fans, partners, and employees. I believe canceling this promotion is the right decision for the broader NBA community. End quote. X. No Magic City Monday.
No.
At the Hawks game. What are your thoughts?
Um, I don't like it because I feel like we discussed on the previous show, Magic City is more than just a gentleman's club. Like you said, it's a restaurant that has top tier food and it's a part of Atlanta culture. It's the one staple in Atlanta that you think about when you hear Atlanta. It's one of the many things you think about in is Magic City. And it's not like they were having the type of entertainment on the floor at halftime. The entertainment at halftime was Ti doing the halftime show. So
He'll still perform. He'll still perform. He's
Yeah,
still
to
gonna perform.
perform. So he still is before. Okay, but like I
Yeah.
said, you, I understand the NBA's um standpoint because I know they talked. I know it was buzz going around that potential sponsors didn't really like it. But so the NBA is a business above before anything, before the basketball, before the entertainment. It is a business. So from a business standpoint, I understand why they're trying to pretty much protect their investment and protect the money coming in. But other than that, I don't get it. Like this was something that was Atlanta. It was Atlanta's culture, and then a guy from that I don't think ever played for the Hawks. I don't think he's from Atlanta. He's on the San Antonio Spurs, and he speaking out against this. Like, why? Sometimes, and when he did it, it's like the floodgates open. You had other players display their concerns, but sometimes you just gotta know when to mind your own business. It's the nice term I'm gonna use. Like like I said, you have it's and plus the Spurs are not even playing that against the Hawks that night. So
Right.
if you got the league pass, you don't have to watch the game. And if you probably got a game that same night, so why do you care what's going on in another city against another team that you have no affiliation to? You have no ties to the Hawks. You have no ties to the Orlando Magic. I feel like some people just want to stick their nose in certain areas and just voice their displeasure for some stuff that has nothing to do with them. Like you play for the Spurs. Mind what's going on in San Antonio or whatever city you're gonna be playing in this coming Monday. Don't worry about what Atlanta got going on inside the Phillips Arena. I mean the State Farm Arena. What they doing over there is putting on a show for the fans. They're giving back. Pretty much, they're giving back to the city of Atlanta. So I just don't that part right there. I just don't understand.
And the thing about
Now I was gonna say it wasn't any. Like I said, it wasn't any. It wasn't gonna be any type of the adult entertainment on the floor. That so if kids was at the game, they were just gonna be served the food from the establishment, and then you get a chance to watch Ti perform at halftime. I mean, you still can watch Ti perform at halftime, but it's not Magic City Monday. Now it's just a regular Monday night game against the Orlando Magic. So what they gonna do with the merch that they generated and sold? You gonna refund these people their money, or
I think they're gonna be able to because I know people who pre-ordered it and they're gonna get their stuff like this weekend. Well, I mean, one of my sources, not me, but one of my sources have told me that they ordered it and it's coming Friday. So is that gonna be rescinded? So uh, yeah.
we let Luke Cornett stop something that could have been a trend-setting move for these other cities that got something. Maybe not in a place like Magic City. Maybe they got something else in their city that's more in tune. That's a staple.
Right.
Like, come on, man. Some people just got to mind their business, especially if you ain't part of the culture, man. Stay on that.
Yeah. And I'm okay. Like if they were to do this and they were consistent in other areas, when it comes to when in this whole because the backlash is because of the kids. Okay, but they have a Hennessy lounge, so you most of these like if you go to these NBA arenas and you get them buffet seats, they're pretty much called like by certain type of liquors. Like you think to yourself, you got liquor, so you got Hennessy. Hell, you've had some of the governors create a tequila together, create an alcoholic beverage. You got FanDuel. You got all these places that are in bed. Y'all in bed with these sports books. Why is nobody talking about this situation? Like, you know, how it caused a ripple like Jonte Porter, like all this type of stuff. He's doing this and like, you know, the whole moral high ground, I hate it because and everybody's like, well, you know, it's kids involved, but there's a lot of stuff that that involve kids. They just don't come that Monday. And like you said, there's not gonna be no strippers there performing in the games. And so it's like all it is just it's not we're not saying yes. You're going to a basketball game, and guess what? All the women are gonna be there. They're gonna be in pasty. Then at halftime, they're just gonna take it all off. And they're not doing that. All they're doing is just celebrating the restaurant itself. So they're just going to they're going to have wings. They were going to interview the actual owner of Mr. Magic. They were going to interview him. They were going to just have some merchandise. It has nothing to do with the women in itself. And the thing that kills me about this whole thing of exploitation of women, but let's talk about these cheerleaders. Do you think these cheerleaders get paid enough where they can just cheerlead? Most of these women are working 9 to 5. They're working amongst us. They're our co-workers, and they're busting their tail to get to the arena to get pennies on a dollar for being a cheerleader. Let's talk about that. Y'all want to talk about let's protecting women. How about pay them more, or give them fair increases? Give them a seat at the table when it comes to promotions. So when we talk about this is the thing that kills me about this because you pick and choose of what you want to do. And y'all got to understand, like the NBA, I don't know why these leagues, why people expect that these leagues are holier than thou. Like, when these players do this, why does the NFL and all this type of stuff do that? The NFL does not care about it. They are $1 billion industry. Like I tell people, I'm going to hold your hand when I tell you this. These leagues do not have morals. They're $1 billion corporation. You don't get $1 billion corporation by being nice or being, courageous about certain things. The NFL, these leagues, they pick and choose their battles. And this is another one where they kind of pick and choose. Because I guarantee you, if there was a complaint about the sports books and all that type of stuff, guess what? They would turn to a blind eye because they make too much money. They're too much in bed with these gambling companies that they will not. If you had 1 million people say, "Hey, like you had a Luke Cornett writing an essay about sports betting," ignored, because they know at the end of the day they cannot lose that FanDuel, DraftKings, all that money because they're in bed with them. Hell, some of them got sports books within their own arena. So they pick and choose, and this is another one where that's why I like this whole NFL and all these leagues and the NBA. Stop requesting them to be the moral compass. They're not moral at all. They're immoral, and that's fine. And I think people have to realize. I don't care if the league cares about social issues, and I ain't about that. I understand. Yes, it's a great thing, but at the same token. It's disingenuous, just like this whole thing with the strip club thing, with the Magic City thing. Because if people didn't complain, it would have been fine. Because they had to run that through the league. You think these teams run independently and don't say, hey, and they'll run it by the NBA? Like, come on now. Because even if, like, we talked about this last week, it got canceled yesterday. We talked about that and the crazy thing about it, when we talked about it last week, it was already 3 or 4 days old.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about that last week, 7 days ago. So pretty much almost a 10 to 11 day period of this being announced now is canceled. Y'all knew. And it's just like, now you kind of, you bend the knee to all these people that say that's a bad thing. Because There's no way that you gonna have a promotion like that and you don't run that by the league to a point where you can announce the type of stuff.
Yeah, I know they ran about the
Come on now.
league because they would
Yeah,
have never announced it without getting the league's blessings for it.
exactly.
So
It's
man,
had legs for days. Like I said about it, that was announced almost 2 weeks ago, like 10, 11 days ago, and now we cancel it yesterday, like a week before all that. So I'm like, yeah, they knew, and that's their way of kind of because of that backlash and all that. But at the end of the day, it's just stupid, and this is like and the only reason why they did that was because of the backlash. Because they don't honestly they don't care, and that's why I
it,
hate when people want to hold fire to these leagues because like oh well exploitation of women. Like I said, you paying them cheerleaders next to nothing. Like you're probably paying the woman in that arena next to nothing. You probably and what you probably paying them women is in the sales department, this, that, and third, or whatever, and you're probably running them crazy and they ain't getting paid adequately. And I know that for a fact. So it's like when we want to talk about protecting women, no, we can
what
protect
look
women on other levels as
it
well. We can
it
get them
wasn't
adequate pay.
it
Yeah.
it it wasn't any backlash until Luke Cornett flapped his gums. And
Yep.
but when he did that, was he
Yep.
even
And that's what
asked?
it was. And
Did
that's
he
what it was.
did he just openly say that, or was he asked a question about Magic City Monday, or he just decided to insert his
No,
two cents?
he wrote an article about it.
Oh,
He
he
wrote an
wrote an
article
article
about it.
about. Oh, okay, all right,
He
all
wrote
right,
an article about it,
okay, all right.
which is just crazy to me. Like, you know, but I'm telling you, man, it's just one of those things where it's just like it to me, it just makes zero sense of like how this all kind of came into play. Like as far as this, the backlash behind it, and the thing about it is, well, and people, obviously there's other shows and stuff I've heard their takes on, and they're like, well, having explained to your child about Mag City. There's other stuff in this world that you have to explain to your child that don't have to do with Magic City. Like it's stuff that's on television that you have to explain to your child that's way more than Magic City. I mean, all it is just it's a gentleman's club, and it's you got all this stuff that's going on in this world. You got especially when it comes to movies and all this type of stuff, and you're seeing all these type of scenes. How do you explain certain things that happen in these movies or on television or these so it's just get to a point now where I'm just like it's annoying, and it just got to a point where it's like it's just dumb. Like how we've gotten to this point in society where like everything is so soft and everything is so like you can't just do nothing. Like, dude, like come on now. Like this is nothing. Like this it's not even like we got strippers gonna be there. Now strippers gonna be there now, we got a problem.
Yeah,
We got a problem.
yeah.
But
And,
they ain't there.
but the thing
But
about it, if that was the case, the NBA would have never given the thumbs up okay for it. If that was the case.
right, right. Yeah. And like the whole thing because and the whole like the thing about it's gonna exploit women, there's not even no woman that's going to be involved in this promotion. All they're doing is just promoting the actual gentleman's club. They're not going to bring the woman from the strip club there. All they're going to do, like we talk about, is going to have certain merch so they can make money. Have they had a pregame post, like a pregame show, not pregame, like a pregame podcast with Hawks AF with Miss Magic. Okay, you don't have to go to that one. Then they're just gonna serve you some delicious Lou Will lemon pepper barbecue wings. That's all. We ain't talking about if Jalen Johnson hits 20 points, you know girls get naked. No, or if the guys miss a free throw, you know
Uh,
somebody go dance, Peaches go dance. No, it's not even gonna happen. So it's like, what's the problem here? You know.
I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, it's just we just got so soft as a society. I hate it. But yeah, so we'll round out today's show with this week's game ball. Who gets this week's game ball for you?
um, I have I have two.
Okay.
I want to, and it's going. I want to give one. First of all, I want to give one the first game ball to the Atlantic 10 conference.
Okay.
That tournament that over this over the past weekend was, man, in my opinion, was A1. It was great. Games was good, competitive. Just seeing it firsthand and up close, um, man, that was it was an awesome sight to see. And then my second game ball I'm gonna give to the actual winners of that tournament, Rhode Island. Coach Tammy Reese, man, she had those young ladies um hooping on a mission, and like you saw the intensity, like as they got deeper and deeper into the tournament run, their intensity just increased. They played good in the clutch. They knocked down clutch free throws, clutch baskets. Um, Defense was locked down when needed to be. Um, Man, like I said, those are my two game balls: the A10 women's basketball tournament and the Rhode Island Rams.
Yeah, I gotta
Rhodey.
give it to yeah. Gotta give it to VCU. Good win on the road against Dayton to conclude the regular season. They get a share of the A10 title, so they'll be the second seed going into the A10 men's tournament in Pittsburgh. So they'll that first game is gonna be Friday at 5 o'clock. So um, they're another team that's on the bubble. So that's going to be really interesting of how this weekend will play out for them, and definitely huge shout out to them and Coach Phil Martelli Jr. Preseason picked to be number one in the 18, and now they got a share of it. So it's gonna be a really interesting tournament. You talk about the women's, and now the focus shifts to the men, and I think that's also gonna be another great tournament as well. And yeah, yeah, man. So we'll round up the show. Final thoughts and social media plugs and what you got going on.
Um, Social media is IG is game on media underscore X. Um, Twitter is X underscore J underscore SR. And here recently I started another Twitter page for my wrestling podcast, the Dream Bookers podcast, that I do alongside Rob Johnson of Rob Johnson Media and Legacy Maker Sports. And we having a good time, having a blast, doing what we do.
All right. Yeah, man. So Facebook, Twitter, Instagram on the Couch Coach Live, the website couchcoachlive.com. We got a bonus episode coming up tomorrow. We had our guy Ben Rikosh. And let me make sure I get where he's from yet again, from WBCW. It covered VCU Rams basketball and also just VCU athletics. He's also joined by our guy Marcus Leary, who both have been on the show multiple times. So we kind of talked about previewing the A10 men's tournament. So that'll be out tomorrow. And yeah, this wraps up this week's Couch Coach Live, man. And we'll catch you guys next week. And we're out.
Till next time.